So just continuing on this matter, if you haven't seen the first part, I recommend checking that out. We'll leave the link below for people to see part one of this. But just to reiterate, so they're going after people like Miss Rachel, who's a popular YouTube children's entertainer, educator, because she recognizes Palestine. Just because she recognizes Palestine. You have people like Ben Shapiro, you have Barry Weiss, you have the New York Times, demonizing her as some sort of Hamas conspiracy theorist. She's paid by this organization. They got the DOJ investigating her. They're trying to squash her platform and content. And here's this account called Better Worldwide, Qatar Worldwide, I should say. Miss Rachel, the popular children's educator from YouTube, has recently stepped far outside the world of kids' content to take clear pro-Palestinian political positions. As we showed before, all she did was acknowledge that children in Palestine are hurting. The same way that other children's programming, when talking about Iraq, talking about Afghanistan, talking about any sort of children that are being, killed and slaughtered and malnourished and abused around the world. Just acknowledging that. But they want to make her sound like she's, Hamas and how crazy and trying to demonize her as some sort of conspiracy nut, misinforming kids. She has used her massive platform, followed by millions of young parents, to promote narratives that ignore Hamas terrorism, minimize Israel's suffering, and present a one-sided view of the conflict. Dancing jihadi debak. How do you say that? Debaki? So they took this clip here that Miss Rachel put out. This is what they claim is being pro-Palestine and very much on the side of Hamas, that she's spreading misinformation. Take a look at this.
You could teach me the Deaf Kid dance?
Of course.
Great.
Okay, grab my hand.
Okay.
And now do one step.
This foot. Okay.
Again.
Okay, this foot.
Then kick.
Kick.
And stop.
Stop.
Wow, you just did the Deaf Kid dance.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for teaching me that.
Of course. Let's now get the whole group together. Yeah. Come on, everybody. Let's do the Deaf Kid dance.
You gotta mute the audio because it might be copyright. It's dancing. Teaching people how to dance. Oh my God. How sinister that is. How anti-Semitic it is. For a children's YouTuber to teach them how to dance. And maybe it's not a dance that, agrees with Judaism or agrees with the Zionist cult. Oh my God. That's so crazy that this is considered, considered pro-Palestinian political conflict right here. Oh my God. You brought on a guy who's teaching this educator about a certain dance. Wow. So troublesome. But like I said, just even acknowledging the existence of Palestine and the existence of Palestinian children and the existence of this genocide that's ongoing, that's being live streamed, that's being shared across the entire world, that's being bragged about by the people that are pushing for this. The people that are pushing for this are openly bragging about how wonderful it is that we're exterminating people, we're mowing down the lawn. That's their terminology. They're openly giddy and excited about onset slaughter. And you don't think that's extreme? You don't think that's crazy? Oh, that's right. Because it works in favor of the establishment that's kind of been taken over by Zionists. Just saying. So it's become a cluster storm of people in panic mode because, in the words of, paraphrasing Hillary Clinton, when she once said that if we lose control of the narrative, we lose control of everything. That's what the Zionists are feeling. And that's why they're pushing, the Trump administration. That's why they're pushing for censorship. You're not living in free speech, that they're doing everything they can. They got Larry Ellison to buy 1/6 of the media empire in the United States. And they have endless conferences on what to do about these youngsters that are opening their minds, engaging with others, and oh my God, interacting with the global community about issues they see in the news. Oh my God, they're seeing a genocide out in the open when it's being promoted by the people committing it. Oh, the horror. So they get people like this. Jewish Zionist activist Melanie Phillips, a Sherrod Haddon's Rage Against the Hate conference, declares that there's no such thing as Palestine and there's no such thing as the Palestinian people. Really? Really? So, again, this is just a cluster F of all the narratives that they can't control. They can't even keep their ducks in a row when it comes to manipulating people. First, you said that, Hamas is Palestine. Palestine is Hamas. And then you get some people that are saying, well, Palestine doesn't exist and there's no such thing as Palestinian people. So who are the people that you're killing then? Are they just rando? Like, are they just nomads? Like, nothing makes sense out of these people. It doesn't make sense, which is why it's so obvious for anyone to look at this and point this out and realize how flawed it is and realize that this Zionist activist is full of herself. And she's doing this to scare you, to manipulate you, so that she can push for the committing of a genocide. He also says the Jews are the only people who have any entitlement to any of this land and are the only people who have entitlement to it of all. But they want to be treated equally. They don't want people to think that they're a higher source than anything. Unless you talk to some Zionists where they say they're God's chosen people, which couldn't be further from the truth. God created everyone equally. That's what I was taught. And I went to Sunday school very, very young, and it wasn't a pleasurable experience, but that's what I remember. So here's what this lady says about it.
Made to believe that peace and justice in the Middle East hinge on the Palestinians getting a state of their own. Justice for the Palestinians has been deemed to be the issue that drives all before it. By apparently denying that happy outcome, the state of Israel has come to be perceived as the enemy of humanity itself. This is the big lie that we are all up against. But the Jewish world has never identified this big lie as such and has never fought it. It has never told the world the truth. There is no such thing as Palestine. There is no such thing as the Palestinian people. The Jewish world has never told the rest of the world that the indigenous people of the land of so-called Palestine are the Jews, that the Jews are the only people who have any entitlement to any of this land.
How crazy that is. The Jewish world has the entitlement to this particular land. Does any other religion ever say that? Do Buddhists ever say that they're entitled to Asian land? Or Hindus that they say they're entitled to occupy all of India? What about Catholics? Oh, they're entitled to take over Rome and European nations. They're entitled to all this. Or even Christians. Do they say that they're entitled to take over certain parts of the United States? That they're entitled to it just seems so crazy. It seems so crazy. Even Jewish people I know don't talk like this. And I could tell you that they're deeply against formations like this because it completely demonizes what true Judaism is about. And it's actually hurting the Jewish faith. It's hurting the Jewish faith to have someone like her spewing this garbage. Oh, we're entitled to this land. We have all the resistance. We're entitled to this. We're God's chosen people. The Jewish world understands. Do you see why people have certain criticisms? Do you see why some people will have statements that could be anti-Semitic in your view? Do you see where that comes from? Because here you are on stage first of all, denouncing that there's ever a Palestine or a Palestinian people. So who are you actually fighting now, if you're claiming that? And also saying that you're entitled to this land because the Jewish world commands us to be entitled to this property. I mean, amazing. Imagine if a Catholic or a Christian just decided to go to their neighbor's house and say, "Hey, I hear you're an atheist. I'm entitled to your house because I'm morally superior than you." Like, where else would you ever hear that? Where else would you ever hear that? It's just so barbaric. And speaking of barbaric, there's more to this. Because like I said, there's a slew of conferences that are happening. Slew of conferences. You heard Ben Shapiro. You heard Barry Weiss. You heard this Zionist leader. Now you're hearing from the former Obama speechwriter, Sarah Hurwitz, on the limits of free speech and allowing criticism of Israel. So there's multiple conferences to crack down on controlling the people, manipulating people. And here's Obama's former speechwriter talking about how we need to take control of the narrative and why having certain censorship is actually okay. It wasn't okay when it was, protecting LGBTQ, which I don't agree with censorship whatsoever. So when Joe Biden was doing it, or, having the misinformation police out there, I forget the exact organization he created, I'm against that. I'm against that because I'm a free speech advocate, and I believe in principle that everyone is allowed to conduct in free speech, that you have that principled right. That's why it's the First Amendment. That's why it's in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms here in Canada. We have the ability to think. We have the ability to form our own opinion, and we're allowed to express that in a civil discourse. But this woman here is saying, no, well, censorship should actually be a good thing. And here's her excuse.
I sometimes get this weird gaslighting where people say, oh, okay, Sarah, you're saying that college kids can't criticize Israel. Well, look at you censoring free speech. I'm like, I would love people to be criticizing Israel. I would love them to be having a debate.
I would love for people to criticize Israel, but unfortunately, being close to the government, we're cracking down on people. We try to deport someone for writing an op-ed against Israel. But I kind of want people to criticize Israel. Really. Because it doesn't look like it. You're not going out there to advocate for free speech of people that are critical of Israel, which would make you an actually free speech persona. But no, you're actually the complete opposite. You're promoting censorship for Israel. I would, but my hands are tied, and I'm just going to sit here and feel good about myself, pretending that I give a damn when I really don't. Here's some more.
But from water to water, Palestine shall be Arab. That's not criticism any more than from water to water, Israel shall be Jewish is criticism.
Not only is that not criticism, that's not even the damn quote. From water to water, Palestine will be Arab. No one's ever said that. She thinks that because her warped little mind immediately assimilates to that. But no. It's from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, meaning that they'll have equal rights. They'll be treated as human beings, just like any oppressed group will be fighting for their respect and their dignity. That's what that means. From the river to the sea, Palestine would be free, meaning that the people of Palestine will be liberated as human beings, just like the Jewish people were, just like any person would be. And once upon a time, which they don't tell you this at all, once upon a time, Jews, Arabs, Muslims, and Christians all once lived together in harmony before all this, before the creation of Zionism. Go look at the Ottoman Empire. Go look at early European ancestral data. Go look at early civilizations. You have cohorts of different religious and ethnicities, living inhabitants before the creation of Zionism. Because Zionism is a political cult created by the British rulers to segregate people, to cause this destruction, to cause this chaos, to colonize Palestine for their own means of geopolitics. It's not there for Jewish people. They couldn't care less about Jewish people. But they will use the opportunity to coincide with the Jewish faith, so they have an excuse to continue this on. Even though Zionism and Judaism have no relation. In fact, Muslim, Arab, and Judaism have more of a relation together than Zionism and Judaism. If you go back and understand theology.
It's eliminationism. It's that's not a criticism. You know, Jews are Israelis are Nazis is no more a criticism than Palestinians are terrorists. Those are just racist, disgusting things to say. I don't care who's saying them. That's not criticism. You know, I sometimes get this weird gaslighting where people say, "Oh, okay, Sarah, you're saying that college kids can't criticize Israel. Well, look at you."
So it's so absurd. It's so absurd that she makes a statement of like, oh, well, I open for criticism, but here's all the examples where I say, you know, criticism shouldn't be allowed. And then I'm going to make up this wordplay, which is, it's not criticism. It's not even a statement. It's from the river to the sea, Palestine would be free. Not from water to water, Palestine would be Arab. Nobody says that. Nobody says that. And as I stated before, you look at the history, you look at Ottoman Empire, you look at early civilization, you had Jews, you had Muslims, you had Christians, you had Catholics, you had all sorts of people living in harmonies. But Zionism, created by British aristocrats, the Rothschilds, did it deliberately to segregate people. Not there for the Jewish people. They couldn't care less about the Jewish people. It was there deliberately for occupying control so they could colonize Palestine, over the resources, and as RFK Jr. even says, like an aircraft carrier. Which, that's the relationship for the United States. That's why it's an ally for certain Western empires. Because having Israel formulated within the Middle East gives them the eyes and ears and opportunity to extract their power and militarization of all the other Middle East countries. That's why we went to war with Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Yemen. Do I need to continue on the list? We bombed Iran to take over their nuclear sites that apparently they were making nuclear weapons, which wasn't the case. And now they want to stroke that up again. On top of starting a war with Venezuela, on top of continuing the war with Ukraine, on top of all these ridiculous notions. That doesn't help anybody. So now, here's her again at a different conference. Roughly the same day, but it's a different conference. This is for the Leadership Lab, the Jewish Leadership Lab conference. I don't know exactly what it's called. I'm just reading the background there. So here's her again, tells Z3 conference that Jewish schools should ban smartphones to keep youths from seeing the carnage in Gaza. So, again, this is what hypocrisy that comes from this woman. Well, I'm okay for people to criticize Israel, but, you know, I don't recognize certain criticism. I don't want people talking about this. I don't want people to refer to, you know, Israeli soldiers as Nazis, even though they're doing the same thing that the Third Reich did in Germany. I don't want people to make comparisons. I don't want people to do this. And now I don't want Jewish kids to see this on their smartphone. So what's going to happen when they grow up and they, as an adult, see this and not being told this as a child? What's going to happen when they have that epiphany, when they have that morality switch, when they see the carnage on the screen as an adult and being ignored this by a child? Like, it just seems so crazy. Here's what she said.
Society, and if like all day long your brain is just smashed again and again by TikTok with really upsetting carnage in Gaza, then like you're talking and like, not to, I'm sorry if this is a graphic thing to say, but like when I'm trying to make arguments in favor, for Israel, I realize I'm talking through a wall of dead children. Like, that's what people are seeing. So when I'm like, yeah, but it's 1.5 civilians they're just seeing carnage.
But
right?
that's
Like,
the emotional blackmail.
I mean, fair enough, but like, again, I mean, that's nice, but like, again, I'm hearing that through a wall.
That's nice. That's nice. You're seeing a wall of dead children, and it's emotional. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That we're seeing a bunch of dead children that's being promoted by the people committing the genocide. That's nice. According to her. According to the former Obama speechwriter. It's nice. What disgusting person she is. A disgusting person that, oh, it's nice to see all the dead bodies that are piling up onto each other. And it's being shared across social media. Again, if they don't want people to talk about this genocide, maybe not freaking promote it. Maybe don't put a video on TikTok of Israeli soldiers dancing around in Palestinian underwear after slaughtering their families. Maybe don't do that. Maybe stop being and make this a laughing riot. The fact you murdered people. It makes you wonder, like, if TikTok existed in 1930, imagine if social media existed during the days of the Holocaust, and you see German Nazis promoting Auschwitz, the gas chambers, the Holocaust. You know, would they make this riot about how we need to control and suppress people witnessing it? Or would they say, hey, Germany, stop promoting this garbage, or we're going to do something about it? And they should have done, and they did something about it. It's just so absurd.
Of screaming children. It's like, I think it's a harder argument than we're understanding. So I actually really strongly think that like Jewish day schools should absolutely say no child owns a smartphone until senior year. They don't own one at all, period. We give it to them senior year and we teach them. Like this whole not during the... So, you won't give the Jewish day school children smartphones. But you can make an argument about smartphones and kids. That's totally separate from this. But just think about that. Think about what you said there. So Jewish day school kids don't have a smartphone, so they won't get access to the carnage being done in Gaza under their name. So what's going to happen when they turn 18, they become a senior, they graduate from school, they see the carnage, they get the phone, they see the carnage, and they start to have this mental PTSD to realize that everything they were taught in school was completely false. Like, how ignorant you have to be to think this is a good idea for that future adults that are in Jewish day schools are going to have this complex mental anxiety breakdown when they see the carnage being done in their name and in their constituency, because they're trying to do this under Judaism, which has nothing to do with Judaism. It's all about Zionism, completely different. And they're going to grow up not knowing this information, not knowing any of this, completely indoctrinated by maniacs like her and Ben Shapiro and so many disgusting others to, mold these children into these Zionist cult waves. And then they grow up as an adult, they get a smartphone, and then they realize everything they learned previously was a complete betrayal. Like, how do you think that's going to work out? How do you think that's going to work out? How do you think that, kids not able to watch Miss Rachel and then growing up as adults, seeing why exactly people are antagonizing Miss Rachel, how's that going to make you think? How's that going to make you feel? That because Miss Rachel acknowledges Palestine and Palestinian children, that, oh my God, that's why children cannot never watch this, because we can't acknowledge that other people and other cultures exist. Does that seem a bit racist to you? Does that seem a bit, xenophobic? Does that seem like prejudice to you? That's because they want prejudiced people. This is how they indoctrinate children. Just like how they
say they indoctrinate children with the woke agenda and the LGBTQ, which for argument's sake, yes, they do. I can agree to it to an extent. But you're telling me this isn't indoctrination? You're telling me this isn't going to mess up children? That, hey, we're going to take away the smartphones, not because of, mental health or anything to do with the actual health factors of smartphones. But no, we're going to take it away because people might learn things. They might learn that a genocide is being committed falsely under Judaism, but really it's because Zionist death cult wants to occupy the territory. And we're starving and slaughtering many innocent lives, including young kids. That Miss Rachel has to be the one to acknowledge. And just because of acknowledging it, she and many others are being, deplatformed, censored, oppressed, being examined by the FBI and the DOJ. Like, it's just so insidious. And now you have the former speech advisor from Obama telling you that no, we can't allow children to see the carnage. We can't see. It's a good thing to see all the dead bodies. Like, I want people to criticize Israel, but at the same time, I don't want people to know about this. They're going to know. They're going to know. And they're going to realize how stupid these arguments are. From her take, from the Zionist leader that says, the Jewish world's entitled to this. Again, you wonder where the criticism of, Zionists control the world come from. You wonder where it comes from. Like her, say that. Or Ben Shapiro saying that they need to, suppress Miss Rachel so we can create some, ultra hyper Judeo-Christian content for children, whatever the hell that is. I thought Sunday school existed for that, but anyway, it's just so absurd. It's so absurd. It's so crazy. It's so cringeworthy. And, children are going to know about this. Children are going to know about this because it's not just social media. It's not just Miss Rachel. People are witnessing this in real time. And unless you can find a way to blind people from ever seeing the world, which they're trying to do, it's not going to happen. And they're losing control and they're panicking, which is why they're having so many of these conferences and so many of these people coming out and saying these ridiculous tropes, try to fearmonger people and saying that your children are being indoctrinated. Because, oh my God, they're seeing a news event happening in front of their eyes. So what should we do then? Oh, we need to indoctrinate them. We need to take control of your kids. Isn't that the same kind of ideology that, you claim the trans community, the LGBTQ, the story time with drag queens? Isn't that what you said about them? And now it's with Zionists. Go figure.